All right, so we're on page 15, okay? So we're going to talk about inverses, okay? So inverses is where you're going to switch your x and your y, okay? So on number 1, what's the problem? 8 to the x power, okay? So up at the top of your paper, up at the top of your paper, for the first step, it says switch your x and your y, right? Okay, so what's going to happen here is we're going to actually switch our x and our y. So that's going to be x equals 8 to the y power. Okay, that's step 1.
I can't hear what Miss Pittman is saying.
That if you write it, if it's an exponential, you're going to put it into log form. Okay? Or if it's in log form, you're going to write it in exponential. Okay, so we know how to put this in log form. So we're going to go from our base to the number on the other side, and we're going to finish at the exponent. Okay? Some of you don't like it written that way, right? Okay, it freaks you out. It's okay. So I could rewrite this problem as 8 to the y equals x, and I can do the circle of life going this way. And that might make it a little bit easier. These are the same things. Okay? So when I write this out in log form, I'm going to say log of base 8 of x equals y, which is step 3, which is to solve for y. This is already on your paper right here. Okay? So your final answer is this. All right, so with inverses, I'm just going to kind of throw back to geometry. Okay, so back in geometry, your teacher was like, hey, do a reflection over y equals x. What was the rule for y equals x? Does anybody remember? No? Okay, just me. All right, so this is going to be yx. What happened here? I switched my x and my y, right? Which is exactly what my first step was. Yep, because normally you have it written x, comma, y, and now I'm writing it as y, comma, x. That's just your connection piece from geometry, okay? All right, let's look at number 2. On number 2, it says ln, y equals ln of x minus 2, right? Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to switch your x and your y. So that's going to give me x equals ln of y minus 2. Then we're going to put this into exponential form. Well, we learned on Tuesday that e and ln kind of like get rid of each other. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to put an e over here on both sides, and we're going to cancel these out, and that's going to give me y minus 2 over here and e to the x over here. All right. Step 3 is to solve for y. So we're trying to get y by itself. So we're going to add 2 to both sides, and that's going to give me y equals e to the x plus 2. To make sure that you're on the right track, we're going to switch our x and our y first. And then now we're going to solve for y. Okay, so we're going to start from our base. We're going to go to the outside, and then we're going to finish at the y. This is how because like I don't like things switching up. So like either I rewrite this, so I would have done it written like this. Yeah. Or so that way this looks like the circle of life that we've been working on. Or I'm going to memorize the acronym BOY. So you start at your base, go to your outside, which starts with an O, and then finish at your y. Does that make sense? Why is y at the end? Y should be by itself. Yeah. So like when I rewrite this, it's going to be like this. It's going to say 4 to the x equals y. And see how y is all by itself and it doesn't have anything attached to it? That's us solving for y. So I'm going to switch my x and my y. And then I'm going to write it in log form. So I'm going to do the circle of life. So log of base 6 of x equals y. Is that what you got?
Yes.
Cool. It's not super different from what we just did. This is at the bottom of that page. It's number 2. Okay, so on this one, you're going to switch your x and your y. So that's going to be x equals log of 1/4 y to the 5th power. Okay? Then you're going to put it in exponential form. So you're going to go, this is number 2 down at the bottom. Okay? So you're going to start at the base, go to the outside, end at the y. So this is going to be 1/4 raised to the x power equals y to the 5th power. Now, you're going to sit there and you're going to ask yourself, well, y isn't by itself, right? So in order to get rid of this y, we're going to have to raise it to the 1/5 power. Okay, so what that looks like, when we have y to the 2nd power, how do we get rid of it? How do we get rid of that squared? We square root, right? If we have a cubic, how do we get rid of that? Take the cubed root, right? Okay, so over here, I'm going to take the 5th root of both sides. So y is going to equal the 5th root of 1/4 to the x power. Sorry, that should be an exponent. Okay?